Hello, everyone. A very good morning, and thank you for joining us today for Weather Watch. My name is Zestin, and I'll be your host this morning. Every year, thousands of migratory shorebirds, also known as waders, arrive to the shores of Singapore to escape the harsh winters in the north. We celebrate their return with Weather Watch, an online workshop where you can learn about these amazing species. If you're new to our program, Weather Watch is one of Sungei Buloh's signature workshops. Launched in 2012 and held annually in conjunction with World Migratory Bird Day, Weather Watch serves as a platform to educate audiences and promote shorebird conservation. We hope that this workshop will equip you with new skills and that afterward you might practice them in the field. I mentioned that Weather Watch is held in conjunction with World Migratory Bird Day, which is being celebrated today, the second Saturday of October. World Migratory Bird Day seeks to inspire and unite people in a common global effort to protect migratory birds and their habitats. Do check out their website for more information. Today, we're privileged to have our resident shorebird expert, David Lee, to conduct our workshop. David has immense experience with shorebirds, working with them for over 20 years across various countries. He's also the lead author of a recent publication that was the first to demonstrate that shorebirds in Singapore fly across the Himalayas during their migration. Throughout David's talk, if you have any questions, do feel free to send them to Florence Sim as a message via the Zoom chat. And we'll try to answer some of these during our Q&A session at the end of the talk. So without further ado, David, please.
Thanks a lot, Zestin, for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today at this very special World Migratory Bird Day, where the whole world work together to celebrate the amazing migration of this migratory bird. So this Weather Watch workshop is to help people to understand some basic information about shorebird and how to identify them and count them. So before we start, we would like to find out how much that you already knew about the migratory birds. Let me do a share screen first, then we can start this quiz. So okay, on the screen, we have this QR code. You can scan this QR code or visit the website below, www.menti.com, to participate in this quiz, which my colleague Zestin will kindly guide you through how you can participate and in this quiz. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, David. So to just add on, this quiz is live. So whether you're watching on Zoom or YouTube, do feel free to join us. If you're using a mobile phone, scan the QR code. Or if you're using a computer, visit menti.com. So we'll give some time for everyone to join us in the quiz.
Oh, we have some answers already. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I think lots of people have joined us. So as more participants come in, feel free to continue to join us. The code is still shown at the top of the screen. So our very first question of today is, name some shorebird species that have been recorded in Singapore.
Yeah, we can see there's quite good answers that people are familiar with: windrows, herons, egret, and oh, okay, common red shanks, okay, common sandpiper, okay, wow, Taric Sandpiper, cool. Wow, okay, so wow, amazing results, yeah. So,
Oh, it looks like we have some experts in our audience this morning. Oh, it's a fantastic. I think this goes to show, it just illustrates the amazing diversity of shorebirds that have been recorded here. And I think it also represents how common some of these shorebird species are. What do you think, David?
Yeah, so I can see from this result, so there's of course quite variety of answers. Many people actually are familiar with the shorebird, but there are some info showing as eagles and swallows. Yeah, they are birds definitely. So they are not shorebird. So we'll go through what these shorebird are, but then it seems herons and egrets are also quite commonly appear. So, and kingfishers, yeah, they are wetland birds. So birds that use wetland, we normally call them waterbird. So shorebird is a part of this waterbird group. So which they are more special. So later on we'll share about how they are distinguished from other bird groups. Yeah, fantastic.
Great, wonderful. All right, I think we can move on to our next question. Okay, the next question is a bit more fundamental. It's about the biology of these shorebeds. So we know that they migrate to Singapore around this time of the year, but why do they do so? So feel free to put in some of your answers of some of the reasons. You can submit more than one answer.
Yeah, so okay, already have those results coming in. Yeah, wow. So food, yeah, very important. I think food are particularly critical to birds because birds are not like us. We probably think more of life needs than any other animals. But for nature animals, birds, the food is always the most important reason, because without food they cannot survive. Yeah. I also see a lot of good answers: harsh weather, winter. Yes. So most of these migratory birds, they stay in the Arctic. So if they don't come to here after August, so they will turn into winter very soon in September. So it will be freezing cold. Yeah. So I can see rest and relax. I like that. So if bird will evolve like us, so maybe they will start taking a holiday. Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, to be warm. Okay. Okay. Changing climate. Okay. Yeah, similar with weather. Okay. Okay. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. I think our audience are very familiarized and seems are making very good answers to this question. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, now let's move on to the exciting bit of the quiz. Okay, over here, now we have a set of 2 multiple choice questions, and there's only one right answer for each of these MCQs. So feel free to participate by putting in your real name, and then afterwards we can see how well you do and who's the best. So for this quiz, the faster you put in your answer, the more points that you get. So it's going to be very exciting. So we'll allow some time for people to continue to join us.
Yeah, we'll see who the winner is.
Okay, all right, I think we're ready to start. So the first question is, what is the longest recorded non-stop flight for Shawbet? Is it over 5,000 kilometers, over 7,000 kilometers, over 11,000 kilometers, or over 12,000 kilometers?
Wow, 5,000 kilometers is a lot.
Yeah, especially for such a small bird. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how the result looks like.
Oh no. Wait, let's see. Hopefully the answers, the results load.
Okay, seems
Wait,
to have a small
technical
problem, yeah.
difficulties. One moment. Oh no, it doesn't seem to be working. But maybe, David, you want to talk about the answer?
Okay, sorry for that. It's has always been technique bring us to the next level, but sometimes it can be unpredictable when it happened. But we are prepared. So, okay, I assume you will have various answer for this question. The how far the bird can travel non-stop. Yeah. Wow. My goodness, our IT expert had finally worked it out, man. Wow, amazing. That's
all right. Great.
Okay, we have this very interesting result. Yeah. So you might be surprised that actually 12,000 is the correct answer. Yeah. So although not everyone have made it correct, but I can't believe it. Everyone believe the birds fly more than 5,000 kilometers non-stop. You know, no one even answered that question, answered that as a result. Yeah, so it's really amazing. Can you believe it? Such a small bird, shorebird, that can fly actually more than 12,000 kilometers without stop. You know, well, you know, how can they last that migration? You see, what they depend on. You know. Yeah, so birds are basically depend on fat, yeah, so to travel, right? So without body fat, they cannot go far, yeah. So they are like me, yeah, with a lot of body fat stored. Okay, maybe that's the. So how is that though? You want to run the next quiz?
Oh, what species is this, David? And is it? I heard that it's a record breaker.
Yeah. Okay, so now, of course, not all shorebird can create this record. This is a world record and Olympic champion. So yeah, so the species name is this bar-tailed godwit. Yeah, we'll mention the species again in the presentation.
Okay, great. Now let's move on to the next question. Our final question for this segment. How many species of shorebird have been recorded here in Singapore? Oops, sorry for the typo. Is it 16 species, 29 species, 41 species, or 55 species?
Wow, so everyone go for the maximum. Good. Yeah, actually, Singapore had 400 over species being recorded. For shorebird, there are 55. So it's a quite good number actually. Yeah, so we have a 41 there. So basically means you know how many birds that shorebird species recorded in Sungei Buloh area. Yeah. Okay, so it's a very good answers. Yeah, thanks a lot for everyone who participated in this quiz. I really appreciate, Destin, you managed to save us from this quiz.
Okay, so finally we'll look at the leaderboard. The top of the leaderboard is someone named JW. Thank you so much for participating and congratulations.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. So yeah, so we would like to invite the winner to join us as our volunteers to help us to do shorebird conservation. Okay, let me go back to my screen. Okay. Okay, so what an exciting moment, and really appreciate for everyone who taking this Saturday off day join us for this talk, Weather Watch. So to learn about shorebird and to work together for the future of shorebird. Okay, so this Weather Watch workshop, it's a regular workshop we run, and we will be going through the objective of the workshop, and then introduction of the shorebird, and share about shorebird at Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve, and we will then share with you shorebird identification and counting. Okay, the workshop for purpose is basically to share with you the basic ID, identification and counting skills, and then share with you about bird migration. And then we would also like through this workshop to promote the shorebird conservation to our audience. So why the bird and how they special? Yeah. So birds are basically strongly related to people, not just about they actually provide food to humans in early days, and then they have been part of our cultures, you know. So people keeping birds to be part of their friend, you know, like a parrot or a singing bird. Then you probably know, as in Chinese culture, Mandarin duck basically means love couple. Yeah, because why that? Because Mandarin ducks, they prefer the male female stay together for life. Yeah, so therefore it actually means people are deeply in love. They will live together for life. So bird watching has become more and more common these days, and in a weekend, you will see people bring cameras for the binoculars, go around into a nature area watching birds. So why that? Actually is part of very good fun. Yeah, by looking at a bird, forget about work stress, right? So study has been shown actually bird watching can reduce stress and improve mental health actually. Yeah, also, of course, if a wetland area have a lot of birds, that means, of course, the habitat or wetland or the environment is very healthy as well. So just now we have been given some names about shorebird. So basically, what are shorebird, right? So shorebird basically, in general, they are small to medium bird. They weeding in the water, so they like to use the shallow water areas. Therefore, they actually also called weeders, right? And this shorebird, they like to use the coastal area. That's why they are called shorebird. Mostly mudflat, but they also use sandflat area. But there are some species do use the inland freshwater wetland, right? For example, this red-wattled lapwing likes to use the crunchy marshy area, so on. So shorebirds like to flock together. Maybe they believe together stronger, so they like to be feed together, travel together, right? So therefore they can be more less visible to predators. Many of the shorebirds can take long distance migration, although not all do. For example, the red-throated lapwing do not migrate. So they breed, the migratory shorebird, they breed in northern latitude area, for example, Siberia, Russia, Far East, and Alaska, right? And then they travel down to the south during the non-breeding period, as we mentioned, to avoid cold and also food reason. So just now we mentioned a lot about weather and food, but another reason is also nest. Of course, you may ask why Singapore they cannot nest. It's because most our habitat are not suitable for building nests for migratory shorebirds. There are many of these birds, they need undisturbed area. They need lot of food during this breeding season. So we can say, oh yeah, Singapore have a lot of food. Along the mudflats, there are a lot of worms, benthic, and so on. Of course, you may know, young bird does not take this seafood, right? So they have to take something which is easy to digest. It's like human babies. They will need to take actually milk powder, milk, rather than any chili crab, so on, right? So in this world, there's more than 20% of about 20% of the bird undertake migration. Yeah, there are about 10,000 bird species worldwide, and about 20% of this bird actually undertake migration, right? So including about 110 species of migratory shorebird. Yeah, migratory shorebird take very long distance of migration. You have already gotten a new record, which is a recent record that the Batu gullwit has been flying 12,000 kilometers non-stop, which is break the record that in 2007 through a satellite tracking, which has been the record for many years, and we've been sharing this interesting migration of this Batu gullwit, right? So shorebirds basically quite similar with this Batu gullwit on this map. So they normally depart migration in about March, April, and reach to staging ground in China or along the flyway. So this bird actually took about a few days, travel 10,000 kilometers to reach to China-Korean border, right? So then this bird have to stop there to refuel. Yeah, so it's important, not just non-breeding ground and breeding ground important, but this wetland in between are critically important for bird to be able to reach to the breeding ground. And then the bird travel to Alaska, right, for very long, another 6,500 kilometers, right, reach the breeding ground in early May. Yeah. So then the bird spent about 2 months there, finding love, and then had children, then flying back. Yeah. So at that time, this bird has traveled, 8-9 days in 11,700 kilometers. So can you believe that this bird, can travel this far distance without stop? Yeah, undertake such a difficult journey. So the shorebird can travel about 30,000 kilometers a year in a lifetime. They travel longer distance than the Earth to the moon. Yeah, the Earth to the moon distance is 384,000 kilometers. While if a bird travels 30,000 kilometers a year in 20 years time, then they could travel 600,000 kilometers even. So yeah, amazing, isn't it? Okay, there's a regular migration route of these birds. They are called flyways. So there's quite a few regular route that bird takes. We call it flyways, right? So this red line is called the East Asian Australasian flyway. is where Singapore is located, right? Somewhere here. So in this East Asian Australasian flyway, there are about 22 countries, and all the way from Alaska, Russia, Far East to Australia and New Zealand. And there are about more than 50 million of waterbirds using this flyway. And this includes 8 million of shorebird of 54 species. Yeah, so a lot of birds actually are using these flyways for migration. Many of these birds actually using this Arctic area to breed. Yeah, so they actually then travels to different flyway after the breeding, right? So it's quite amazing. So that's why Arctic are critically important for migratory shorebird worldwide. So there are a lot of threats that birds face during the migration. So in the East Asian Australasian flyway, there are 24 shorebird species have been showing a decline between 20 to 80% of the population since the 1980s. And also in the Americas, 3 billion birds has lost in North America since 1970, yeah, including 2.5 billion of migratory birds. So why is such thing? Yeah, over the years, economic development has been reclaiming some of these coastal mudflat areas, and also pollutions, hunting. Yeah, in some of the poor countries, people still depend on some of the wildlife for food. So there has been a lot of conservation effort done in many countries, like in Singapore, we have 4 nature reserves set up, right? And a lot of nature parks, nature areas, right? So this place has become very important for protect this wildlife, and including migratory bird. While regionally and internationally, there are other conservation initiatives. The East Asian Australasian Flyway Partnership, Arctic Migratory Bird Initiative, which Singapore has been actively involved in. There's also other international conventions, right? Convention on Wetland, Convention on Migratory Species, Convention on Biodiversity, so on. They all have a strong component for conserving of migratory birds. So Singapore provides many of these places for migratory shorebird to stop over and wintering here. And this place include the Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve, Mandai Mangrove and Mudflat, Kati Bang Su and Eastern Dam area, and Chek Jawa Wetland in Pulau Ubin, and other place which is not easy to access is Pulau Tekong and Pulau Semakau. Yeah? So this place, why they are important for this bird, because this coastal wetland has provided a lot of rich food for this bird to feed here. Yeah. So Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve is one of the important places for migratory bird in Singapore, and 280 over species have been recorded at the reserve and the surrounding nature parks. And this is about 68% of the total Singapore bird species recorded, right? So about half of these species are migratory. So then this also include 40 migratory shorebird species. So this colorful picture below shows you some of the birds that using of Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve, and it can be quite colorful, some of the forest bird, right? And the shorebird found in Sungei Buloh, so we mentioned there are 40 migratory shorebird species. There are some common ones on this photo. They were basically less colorful than the forest bird we showed earlier, mostly brown and gray color. But they are amazing. Yeah. So if you come to Sungei Buloh during high tide, most likely you will see the windbrow and common red shanks. They are here every day during this high tide time. Yeah. Then golden plover and lesser sandplover may come occasionally during some high tide, and then in good numbers, right? So I was surprised that there was quite a lot of answer about this Taric Sandpiper. And because this little bird is very cute, that one thing. And second thing is there's a bird we ran in 2013 have been consistently come back to Sungei Buloh every year, and with a color flag number B5 on it. So it's very important that we carry out monitoring in the wetland and Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve, for example. So why monitoring are important? So monitoring our wetland will be able to demonstrate how important a wetland are for the migratory and resident birds. And the information gathered can assess the number and species using the wetland and also the long-term trend, right? And also the monitoring help to identify when are the important periods that the bird will use a wetland, so therefore improve the wetland management. So we mentioned that Sungei Buloh are very important for migratory shorebird in a flyway. And then this site has been nominated to the Flyway Network in 2002. And Sungei Buloh has been carried out long-term study for migratory birds. So from 1990 to 2020, we have ranged more than 12,000 birds of 140 over species. So in 1990, metal ring with a unique number on this range has been used to attach on a bird. So if the bird have been recaptured, then you will know this individual bird, where they're from, where they have been flying to. And to improve these observations, so researcher has decided to use engraved, use color flags. So basically, you don't have to recapture the bird, and you know where the bird are from if you see it in a field. So Singapore has used this green over white flag, yeah, in 2003 to improve the information recapture, right? So any people see this flag means they have seen a bird that from Singapore. Then in 2012, then we have used this engraved flag. So basically on this flag, there's a number and the letter or sometimes both combination. So basically able to identify the individual birds, yeah? So if you've seen this bird in a field, you will know which is bird exactly, right? So that's how this improvement of the research effort over the time. So as I said, Singapore has used a green over white flags, and there's this overall protocol for the birds in this whole flyway, yeah, for shorebird. So basically, if you see a bird, say black over green, we will know the bird actually from Thailand, right? Then if you see bird that from, white over black over white or white over black, they will be showing this bird actually from Chongming Island in China, right? So basically there's this protocol that helps to identify where the bird from if you do see one with different colors. So with the research over time, then we were able to identify that bird flagged or ran in Singapore, recaptured in other country, and bird ran and flagged in other country observed in Singapore, right? So we realized our birds are actually connected to the countries of Russia, China, Japan, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, and so on, right? So, and then these are the species: Pacific golden plover, Taric sandpiper, common red shank, lesser sandplover, common sandpiper, sandling, wimbrow, marsh sandpiper, bottle with red extinct. So this list will keep on increasing with the increased number of public are interested and involved in observation in the field, right? So Singapore has increased, bird watchers, public interested in helping finding them, while at the same time, there's an increasing of bird watching community in other countries as well. Yeah, so this list will just keep on increase. So other than this monitoring and birding, we have been trying to embark on latest technology to understand the migration route of this bird. So basically in 2014 to 2016, we use this geolocator, which is less about 1 gram on common red shanks, while these trackers need to be recaptured to download the data. Yeah. Then in 2017 to 2020, we carried out satellite tracking with the 5 gram and 9.5 gram trackers put on the birds. And for the satellite trackers, they don't have to be recaptured or to download, and data will be automatically sent to the satellite. Then we will be able to download from internet platform. And we studied 5 species of shorebird using satellite trackings at both Sungei Buloh Wetland and Taric Wetland in Pulau Ubin. So we just want to quickly share of some of the interesting results. So of the research we did, we found out 10 red shanks that had been tagged both geolocator and satellite tracks are all actually breed in Tibetan High Plateau. Yeah. We're quite surprised because earlier we thought our bird might be migrated through coastal China to breed in North China or Russia, right? So we actually found out they actually breed in, Tibetan High Plateau. We're quite amazed that 3 of the birds actually managed to migrate north by crossing the Himalayan to the breeding ground, right? So it's quite interesting. And then after breeding, there was actually more birds traveled back by crossing the Himalayas. So not just the red shank, wimbrows. So wimbrows, we have 5 birds tagged, and 4 of the birds actually used, East Asian Australasian flyway by using coastal China, then Korea, and then to the breeding ground, right? East of Crimea Peninsula in Russia. Well, one of the birds actually managed to cross the Himalayan to the breeding ground at this Yanish Gulf area and return. So the bird did multiple years for this migration using the similar route, right? So it's quite amazing that we noticed that our birds being able to cross Himalayan in the first time, bird from Southeast Asia. So which we normally thought is a great barrier that bird will try to avoid. And then we also found out that shorebirds not just in Singapore, not just use this East Asian Australasian flyway, but actually used also the Central Asian flyway by during the migration. Yeah, Singapore is therefore in this intersection of the both flyways. So therefore, conserved wetland habitat in Singapore, including the mangrove mudflat and freshwater marsh, are extremely important for birds using this both flyway. And we actually managed to publish a paper on the scientific report in December 2020. So then my colleague maybe share a link here in the chat so that you could download the paper if you want to view it, right? Okay, so we had a brief sharing about bird at Sungei Buloh, Singapore. and the work we're doing. So let's go back to the main purpose today, trying to identify some of the shorebirds. By looking at these drawings, you may got short, right? So shorebird normally green, in gray or in brown. How to identify them, man? And if they are operated the sunlight, they will be just like this, you know. There's very, very colorless. And if you see this bird together, you might be just walk away, say, gosh, it's too much for me, yeah. So don't be afraid. So I'm here trying to give you some tips to make this identification process maybe slightly easy. You just keep on practice, you know, spend more time to watch them, to reading more, and you know, follow people with more experience. So eventually you will be better. Yeah. So people like me are still learning. Actually, I'm doing this introductory, you know, for new birders. Well, if you have very difficult birds, which I have to, you know, seek help from, you know, my friend as well. So, okay, follow this migratory shorebird, you have to come in the right time. So shorebird will depart in the breeding ground in about July. Once they finish the breeding, some of the early bird will reach to Singapore in middle to late July, while they start building number in August, right? Then reach to peak to September to April, yeah. So, and many of the birds will stay here until end of April. So this is the time that you can come to view them. And if you come to Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve, it's important that you come during high tide. Why is that? Because Sungei Buloh actually are made of by mostly this old plum pond, which is being used as a high tide roost, right? So if you come during low tide, many of the birds might be feeding at the mountain flat, which is about 3 kilometers to the east, right? Just beside the causeway. And of course, good to check the tide table level before your visit. Yeah, so you can just you know, search online. The Sembawang tide or Linjikang tide, then you will have the you know, the latest tide information to plan for your trip, right? So if you target to view the shorebird, then you should target to be here at a tide that about 2.2 meter high. Yeah. Yeah, other than this right time, you know, you have to bring some equipment, right? So shorebirds generally are quite far, yeah. So then you need some binocular and possible a scope to see them. Binocular don't have to go very expensive one if there's a financial constraint. So binocular can zoom in about you know, 8 or to 12 times, depending on the binocular you get. So basically, if the bird was 8 meters away, then with the binocular, you will see it about 1 meter from you. So it's quite helpful to look at the detail. While the scope can zoom in about 20 to 60 times or even 80 times. So therefore, you can look at, you know, how the bill looks like, feather looks like, you know, leg color and so on. Yeah. Then you good to have some field guide, you know, bird chart. Yeah. So there are digital guide as well on these days. So you don't have to bring a heavy field book already. You've got a binocular or even a scope or even a camera, right? They cannot be digital now. So good to write some note, yeah, that can be on your phone, on your tablet, or whatever it is. Then record some of the information. So some of the information we suggest you to record if you are going to a wetland, yeah, either Sungei Buloh or somewhere else. Then you can record down where you are, yeah, the location you are, and then the date and time you visit the wetland. And then the habitat, is that coastal wetland, is that a freshwater marsh, sand flat or mud flat, and so on. And what tide you are there, yeah. So if you're at low tide at Sungei Buloh and then the bird number are low, we are quite understand why is that. And then what weather condition, right? If weather are very bad, maybe some birds are hiding, so therefore you're seeing less bird. And then of course it's always important to write down the name of observer, you and your friend, and so on. And of course the species and number you see in the field. And other interesting behavior, if the bird calls a lot, then it might be just before migration, or if you are able to identify the birds in male, female, or age juvenile adult, then feel free to include this information as well. So how to identify a shorebird? Let's say there's a flock of birds in front of you, how to identify it, yeah? So basically you try to pick up one bird within a flock, trying to study it, and you trying to watch it as close as possible, and then spend some time to look at it, and then write down some notes and specific traits, and if possible, do a scratch, right? So here I'm sharing, some scratch done by my friend David Baker, who has been known very good shorebird expert for particularly in identification in the field. So there's some the notes that you maybe if I were doing on-site workshop, I would ask people start doing a drawing in real practice. Then you look at the bill. This bird have a long bill, slightly curved up. Maybe the eye is not very big. Then it's red all throughout, from the face to the belly. This is a breeding plumage, bald goblet, right? So take down more and more notes if you can. Then the color of the leg, the back, mixed, black and brown, reddish, and so on. So other than these tips to look at all these details, so there's a list probably you can try to go through. So basically, if you look at a flock of bird or individual bird, what's the size of the bird, right? Then the color, for example, the bird on the top is greenish, while the bird below are brownish, right? The bill shape, right? So the bird on the top, which is very thin and straight, right? Black color, right? So the bird below, bit of orange on the bill, long as well. Then how is the leg? The leg length and water color, right? Just look at this bird, it's orange color, while this bird is kind of like a blackish color, right? So there will be special interesting behavior when a bird, feed and move. And how do they fly? Are they flock together? Yeah, in general, yes, these birds are flock together. And you may have a bird, a lonely bird. And then the habitat they use, right? So, and when was the bird you see, right? You come in September or January or, March, so on. Of course, call may not be critically important for shorebird, but they are actually important for many forestry birds, because forest birds are normally hiding in the trees. They will be called a lot. And shorebird don't call a lot, only when sometimes. So, but still good to know, yeah. Okay, so for study shorebird or any birds, it's good to know some preliminary information about their body part is called, right? So you can describe the bird in a slightly more accurate way, but of course it can be goes more and more deeper information with the tiny part of the bird is called, right? So in general, there's some of the main body parts, right? Head of the bird, bill of the bird, foot of the bird, leg of the bird, tail, wing, back, and so on. And again, there's some drawings shared by David Beckwell, and that helps to make it easier for describe the body part of the bird. So mantle, scapular, yeah, then covered, lesser covered, medium covered, and greater covered. Then tissues, then secondary, primary. So this is when a bird are standing. Of course, when bird fly, there will be a different position. Then this is the top part of the bird, and lower part of the bird. You have breast, belly, flank, vent, yeah, undertail covered, and so on, right? Okay, so maybe shorebird ID are still difficult. Let's go for try to separate them. Okay, they can be easily separated to two groups. Those birds that have a shorter bill, they will be called plovers, while the birds have a longer bill, they are called sandpipers, right? So if you can separate this main group into two smaller groups, that will make it easier, yeah? Even though Wimbro is a sandpiper after all, yeah? So basically, these plovers will eating the surface food, right? So you see any worms on the top, then you pick up the food. Then this Wimbro, you actually see they have a long bill, they will normally dig into the water, dig into the mud and take the food from inside the mud. Okay, the birds are in different size, from as small as less than 20 cm to larger as more than 40 cm, right? So you've got a smaller one like this, lesser sunflower, then to the bigger one, to the Wimbro. So the plovers normally, as I mentioned, take surface food, and long-billed birds will try to, dig out food from inside. Yeah. So the birds basically will be able to identify through the bill shape, right? If you have a look of this bird on the right, you will see, okay, the bird actually have a long bill, but curving down, right? So you have this bird here and have a long bill, actually quite straight, right? Then how long is long? So basically, normally we will compare between the bill length to the head length, right? So for the birds which are on the right, then this is the head length from base of the bill to back of the head. Yeah, so the head length. While the bill is 2 times of the head length, right? So now you have a similar bird on this photo, and then you will try to measure how many times of the head length, right? So the bill is 3 times head length, while then the bird below is 2 times of the head length. So in this situation, you will be alert yourself. Are they still the same species, right? Then the bird on the top also actually much bigger. So it's a Eurasian curlew, while the bird below is a Wimbro. So bird call are probably not extremely important, but still birds make calls, particularly before they depart, and sometimes when they're facing threats. We just like to share with you how this windblow calls looks like. So this is how the windblow calls. Okay, we have also another call here, which is a common Russian call. So of course, this is a flock of birds. Many calls happening at the same time, right? So this is how the Russian calls looks like, right? Okay. So then we will look at some of the birds individually. You look at these two birds in this screen. They are quite similar size and so on, but look at the bill, the color are different, and leg color are different, right? Then the bill shape, this bird, common sandpiper is more strict, and then we do have this curved up bill, upturned bill, right? So also other birds, they have some bobbing behavior. That means when they are feeding or walking around, the tail will be, bobbing up and down, right? That's what a common sandpiper. Not only common sandpiper do that, but sometimes the wood sandpiper also do that. You will see this the tail bobbing up and down as well. So we mentioned that it's important to look at the bill and leg colors. So for these two birds, the common red shank and common green shank, they both sandpipers, right? They have a long bill, but you can separate them by their colors, right? So red shank have an orange colored bill and the leg, while green shank have a greenish bill and the leg. So bird actually also looks different when they are in non-breeding plumage and the breeding plumage. So for example, the lesser sunflower looks just plain brown while they are here, but actually when they are breeding ground, they will be turning reddish on the chest and the black color evolve on the forehead. So some of the early migrants returned, you will be able to see some of the bird in breeding plumage. And this is the golden plover, and this when they are in Singapore. And after you return, they actually will be all black below when they are in breeding ground. And this bird is trying to molting out the breeding plumage. And the Curlew sandpiper during breeding plumage, they actually looks a brownish color under the belly. So you may encounter some of these medium-sized, very long-billed birds. Well, the bottle gullet showing a pinkish bill at the base and slightly curved up. And if you're lucky, see this Asian dodger will have a very strict long bill and a very thick snout, right, consistently. And then you have this black-tailed gullet, which is quite similar with the bar-tailed gullet, but the bill are very strict without upper turn. Yeah. If in flight, then you will see the tail are black. And then you have some smaller shorebirds, which they look similar. Yeah, right extinct is a very small shorebird. Yeah, 15 grams. While then you have this Curlew sandpiper have a longer and gradually curved down bill. Yeah. And then if you lucky see a broadbill sandpiper is also curved down, but normally it's straight on the bill and drop down at the tip only. So there are tiny difference, which is that's why binocular and scope, which is necessary in some shorebird identification. Of course, you have this, all gray bird, right? Northern green shank. They came to Sungei Buloh in 2008, yeah, many years ago. Hope some of you will see it again. It's very roundish bird, and then have a curved up, slightly curved up bill and bell color bill. Yeah, greenshank, the bill is more strict and slightly curved up. While if you see this marsh sandpiper, you realize the bill is very strict and thin. Yeah, so that makes a difference. So there's a lot of difficulty in identifying this shorebird because they are in either different sex or age, from different place and so on. There could be even introduced species like the musk lapwing you found in Eastern Dam. Yeah, they were actually, from Australia. Okay, we have to come to this last part of this workshop already. In a few minutes, it will be finished. But this is an exciting part, actually. So how to count them? Then if, of course, if there are small number of birds, then you can count them one by one. Here, okay, if you do a quick count, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 birds, right? Actually, you can be wrong. So there's a bird here, which is the back, and the bill turns out here. Yeah, so it's 14. So you do need to look out carefully, even there's a smaller number of birds there. But if you are actually counting many birds and you are yourself, then you count species by species, right? So you got 1 marsh sandpiper, 2 marsh sandpiper here, right? Then you got 1 greenshank here, right? Then you got a few redshank here, and then you have the rest of windbrow. So you record them separately. But of course, if you have a lot of birds, what are you going to do with them, right? So if you let 10,000 birds, if you count 1 to 10,000, you will count the whole day and you still at 5,000. And basically you have counting the same bird again and again. So there's a tip. So basically you count the birds in groups. Depending on how big this flock, then you count them by relevantly range. Yeah. So there's this flock of birds. Yeah, not necessarily flying. Maybe they are standing, let's say. Okay, so basically you're trying to count them. Then you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. So basically you say, okay, there's a 10 bird, 20 bird, 30 bird, 40 bird, 50 bird, 60 bird, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's 1 here. So maybe you say, okay, there's 61 bird I just flying over. Then of course, there's a much larger flocks. Then what you're going to do with it? Then of course, you have to group your count to a larger group. So basically say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So basically you have 50 birds, right? 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, right? 455, 60, 65, 70. So there's 470 birds in this flock. Okay, we have a flock of birds here in the screen, and they seems a lot, but how many are they, which I don't know. So I would like now to give you 30 seconds to count this bird. Once the second is over, then there will be a poll showing on the screen, which you can help to put your answer. Okay, let's start now. So I hope you will be using the skill just now, which I have shared. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult for you to finish the count in 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds is over. So maybe you'd like to help to answer your count, right? Okay, very cool. So we have, quite a few people, 20 over people participating now. Okay, the number are increasing and the result keep on coming in. Wow, so I can see on the screen the majority people has voted 130, while the few has voted 180. Okay, thanks a lot. So let me go through this result with you. So you were surprised to know actually there are few different species inside this flock. Majority of these birds are common residents, if you don't know yet. So they have orange leg and orange bill sometimes with black tip on the front, right? But you do have these two birds actually different. They are larger and the longer bill, they actually black-tailed godwit. And you have here a greenish white bird, which is my sandpiper. And then I practice with 5 by 5. So I go on with the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 105, 110, 115, 120, 125, and so on. Yeah, mine means a circle, right? So I had 130 birds on the circles, then I have 2 birds which are not in the circles. So this is a quick estimation of how many birds actually are on this picture, right? So we'll do one more practice, yeah? So there's a flock here now flying, and I would like you to count it and report your result in 30 seconds again. Thank you. Okay, so just now we have practiced many people made correct. Let's see how it goes this round, right? So, okay, keep your result coming. Yeah, so see how good you are in counting shorebird, right? Wow, wow, can't believe everyone, most people choose 260. That's interesting. Don't you think there's 500 bird? Okay. Okay, cool. So, okay, of course you can't identify there's other species if the bird are really in flight, but I did a try on this photo. So there are actually a few other species in this photo, right? So they was too fast, then they might be red-necked stint or Taric Sandpiper, which have a slightly longer bill than the flowers. So in this flock, they are all lesser than flower. So I'm trying to count 10 by 10. So basically I made 26 circles on this photo and then 24 circles on this photo. Then, 5, 10, 15, 20. So I thought there's probably 20 birds which are not in the circles. So I can't believe it. Majority of you has already been an expert. I'm really pleased that your skill has really improved during this workshop. So I've come to the end of this sharing. So I would like, if you can, join us as a volunteer and support our conservation and citizen science program. So on the left side, there's this QR code, and you can try to join as a volunteer. While on the right side is a Facebook link we have set up. It's called Singapore Engraved Flag Sightings Facebook group, right? So this Facebook group is specially set up by MParks to collect information that's shared by public on the flagged bird that you've seen in the field. Yeah. So if you scan this QR code and you click joining, then you will be involved or learn from this group that there's a lot of information about color flagging observations, right? Then eventually help to provide the information yourself. It's really very pleased to be with you on this very special Migratory Bird Day Saturday morning. Thanks a lot for joining us, and I would like to, also thank to people who have support the photos, videos, illustrations to this, presentation, and my colleagues at Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve and Globin for conducting the field work together. And I'll thank you again for your participation. And now I leave this, hand over this to my colleague Zestin. He may check if there's any question that I could help to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David, for that really interesting and insightful workshop. And thank you for everyone for participating in the quizzes so far and for submitting your questions. I understand that we're overrun and we're really out of time, but thank you again for all the questions. So we've just included, we only have just time for maybe just 3 questions, so I've just put them up here. One question from the audience is, we highlighted a number of wetland areas where the shorebirds are known to gather around Singapore. David, could you tell us if there are other lesser known sites that are also important for shorebirds, or where people can see them, or where these shorebirds may rely on the habitat there?
Okay, so I assume this means the other wetland which I did not mention, right? So for example, the Cranky Marsh, which could be and surrounding grassland, occasionally will be viewed by some of this, will be used by these Pacific golden plovers, right? And some of these snipes, they could be hiding anywhere in the grassland, in the wetland. Then also recently the Marina East has been, reporting various interesting records, right? And common sandpiper, this bird could be using anywhere, yeah, in a drain, in a wetland, beside Mercure Park, or any of the drains in Singapore. Yeah, so hope this helps the question. Okay, fantastic. Thanks. Moving on. The next question is about research involving the research of the migratory behavior of the birds. So you mentioned that to study the birds, researchers may put rings or flags on the legs of the birds. So this person wants to know, does this affect the bird's ability to fly? Okay, thanks for this question. So the rings and flags is more like a watch you're wearing, or a ring you're wearing. So basically, they are generally light in weight and will cause very little impact on a bird. And also, our staff at Hem Parks are very well trained before they could, handling the bird. So bird welfare is always our priority for our research activity. So we will definitely work our best to ensure the safety of the birds. Thank you very much. Thanks, David. And our final question for today, it's also about the behavior of shorebirds in their migration. How do they navigate and find their way throughout their long and arduous journeys? This is a tough question, thanks, but yet a very good question. Myself, I'm still learning, and probably it requires a lot of future research to find out as well. But there has been some study that showing one of the ways that bird can navigate is through this world's massive magnetic, so if you were to transfer a bird to a totally different new place, the bird will still be able to migrate north and south to the place which the birds actually been placed at a new location. So this there have been research published, so and showing that bird can navigate through this magnetic in the Earth. Then of course the bird can navigate also through research showing that through this chim term, intact olfactory nerves, right? Basically, birds smell things, yeah, then try to determine their migration route. Then we definitely believe that birds still can use landmarks as this migration route. That's why we see birds actually migratory along the coastline. Then basically they can see the coastline, then they can easily find the food. So then of course we still believe that a bird that can navigate through the stars and suns. Therefore, that's why bird actually driven by the artificial light and causing a lot of kills by hitting the buildings because there's a lot of light and bird confused with their migration direction. Yeah, so there's still a lot. Although there's still some we already knew, but still a lot to find out. So really a good question, and we hope that in future that this question could be better answered. Thanks a lot.
Wow, thank you so much, David, for that incredibly detailed and well thought out answer. So again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in to Wader Watch today. And again, we'd like to recommend if you're going onto the field and doing watching of shorebirds, do feel free to join our Singapore Engraved Flag Sightings Facebook group and report your sightings there. So we, from both David and myself, we'd like to thank you and we wish you a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank you.